Welcome to the Sonrise Pastors Podcast. I'm joined with Pastor Jason and Pastor Craig today as we cover artificial intelligence, or AI, and Christianity. From a Christian perspective, what should we know about what's happening in the AI world? How could we participate in it redemptively? What are some of the things we should watch out for? And maybe what would be some benefits of getting started in incorporating this kind of technology into our lives, families, businesses, and ministries? Anyway, I hope that you enjoy this episode. How's your guys' week been, besides the passing of the quote-unquote millionaire tax in Washington that we now have thrust upon us? I mean, I'm not making $1 million a year, so it doesn't directly affect me right now, but
yeah.
Well, the part of me just thinks it's an open door.
Yeah.
Like the million seems like, oh, that's so far out there, it'll never affect you.
Apparently, there was an amendment that was floated to, limit it to millionaires, and that did not get amended. So it leaves the door open for it to trickle down, as they might say.
Right.
This
goes to show with
everybody else.
Hey, the strategy is what they're really thinking.
Yeah.
You know, $1 million so far away from me, but it really isn't.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so a little
Otherwise,
depressing.
hopefully not to bring you down too much before we start
No, a little depressing though.
the podcast. Yeah.
It led to an interesting conversation with my wife last night. Just, kind of hurting your head trying to get your mind around taxes and difference between S corps and C corps and LLCs and which ones are affected more, because it does affect businesses and individuals, obviously, and so. And then I thought it was kind of interesting. One of our lawmakers kind of pushed back on the idea that people would leave the state, and then Howard Schultz.
Then he's like, "I'm out of here.
I'm out of here."
Yeah.
I'm sure he timed that intentionally, but.
I have friends who are out of here. 20 sets of families have left over the last few years. So.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of families from Sonrise, and
for sure,
just other great people that we know in the area that for their business and their economic outlook. It was like, man, but stay in Seattle stay in Washington with us, guys, in Everett. Yeah, we have a mission here.
That's right.
Well, that's the other part. The financial is one, but then the moral aspect, the immoral underpinnings, and anyway, that just they couldn't handle anymore.
Right.
Yeah. One friend went to Texas because she wanted to have her guns.
Oh,
right.
We can still have them here, but she saw it
coming.
coming.
Right. People have their different reasons.
Yeah. Right.
But and you've been looking into not tax laws, I guess, but recording policy. I don't know if it's laws or policies on, because we're releasing new music, so we're pretty excited about that.
Yes,
for the church worship, first live worship album is in the works. It's gone to mastering. Is that the right way to say it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gone to mastering.
It's gone to mastering.
So it's mixed and it will be mastered soon.
The guy's mastering. He's listened to our stuff. He says it sounds great. He's excited to get it mastered for us, and so
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool to see something come to completion soon and be able to share it with everybody.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
But there is a lot of streaming licenses and whether you're going to sell it or you're going to print CDs again, or all the different ways you can distribute it and who gets percentages and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
Is it 15 songs you said are moving to that?
I think when it's all said and done, it'll be 13.
13? Oh, okay.
Yeah, 13 songs.
So,
Wow.
Yeah. So pretty fun to see something come to
very cool
completion. And we have a lot of things in the headlines these days, of course, with the war and it's happening with Iran and U.S. and Israel and surrounding nations in the Middle East, and just always political things in the headlines. But one of the things that's being talked about a lot is artificial intelligence. And Christians, I don't know how many Christians are prepared or are aware of what's happening. In, I believe it was December or maybe January by the time I saw it, there was an article written by someone who's working in the tech industry who's working with artificial intelligence models. And he said, I'm not like a C-suite. I'm not a chief executive or a chief operating officer. He's not one of the highest levels that's making the major decisions about the direction of AI, but he's pretty well embedded and he's more of an advanced developer or more of a senior position in the companies he's worked in. And he just said, hey, just so you know, right now AI is not, if you used AI 6 months ago or a year ago, you would have had a different experience. But he said the newest versions of ChatGPT and Claude by Anthropic, they are like he said, I can go with no computer coding language at all, just with regular kind of English, describe an app that I want it to build for me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it will build it in 4 hours. I'll leave my desk. I'll come back. It will have built me an app, coded the whole thing, tens of thousands of lines of code. It will have tested it as if it was a human, and then it will let me test it and then give it feedback, and then it'll make changes based on any way that I want it changed.
Wow.
And he's like, and it'll do it better than I can do it, way faster than I can. He's like, weeks of work will take it 4 hours, And so he's like, this thing is progressing like really rapidly. And then we were at a family birthday party this week, and Jason's brother, actually, Jamie, he used to work, Jameson, who used to work for us in our media and stuff. He wanted a teleprompter app, and he was like, well, these don't look very good, and they're charging you like $20 a month or whatever. And he's like, so he just went into a new AI tool by Google. Do you remember what it was called?
Google Anti-Gravity.
Google Anti-Gravity. And he had it build him a teleprompter app. And it built him a teleprompter app for their church announcements or whatever, or those types of things.
Yep.
So
That's
they've
awesome.
scripted it all, and I think he said it took like 20 minutes. It built him an app, and technically he could turn around and sell it now.
Yeah, sure.
As something that he built. And he put some pretty nice little features. He was showing it to us real quick at the birthday party. And it was just funny. Like, we're about to have, these AI conversations, and here's a living example of somebody who's like, I don't really like what's out there, so I'll just have it built. Right away. So it's kind of a weird, wild, exciting world in like what AI can do and how it's affecting how we can work and accomplish things. But I know it's also scary for people. So anyway, it's a big topic. I don't even know 100%. I don't know if I should say this out loud, but where to go with this one. But there's a lot to cover. But you guys have been using AI.
Yeah.
So what's kind of your pulse on what's happening with AI and everything?
By pulse, Pastor Jason and I would be kind of early adopters as it relates to people in the church. We just were curious about it and how it could be used in our arenas, and so I would say the same thing you said, Pastor John, is that it already started at kind of a breakneck speed, but it's been increasing its speed in the development and in its ability to actually accomplish new and broader things. And all the side chatter you hear of jobs that are going away because AI is taking over. So all that's part of the same narrative, I think.
Yeah.
For us, it's not quite as comprehensive at the church and our use of it, and then individually. I use it in a couple different environments, but I've basically replaced using Google as a search engine.
Right.
I use Perplexity as my main AI tool. I use Claude and ChatGPT and Grok in different environments, but Perplexity. And I think I ended up somebody recommended it to me a couple of years ago, because at that time no AI platform did this, and now others do, but Perplexity would actually show you where on the web it found its stuff with footnotes and links.
Oh, okay.
And so you could actually go to the original source where it got it, and so that became, and I still use it, but I think the pulse I'm on now is it's interesting because some of the issues that existed early on, I did an early Google class on essentials of AI just so I could have a bigger understanding of it. That was about a year and a half ago. It was a pretty comprehensive class, and it told things about AI always needs human intervention, which is even more so true today, and that it's capable of a thing called AI hallucinations.
Yeah.
So it thinks it sees or found things, but it doesn't actually compute them correctly or promptly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is interesting, right?
Yeah.
So my daughter's helping me as an intern, with some social media stuff around here.
Right.
And so she wanted to take some of my sermon quotes and make like put a picture of me up and then put like the quote in the picture and share it on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. So she put in my sermon link into, I think it was Chatter, one of the AI models, right? And she said, pull from me the quotes that would make the biggest impact on social media, or however she worded it exactly, right? And so it goes through, and she has this list of quotes. Well, she's looking over it with me, and I'm like, I don't think I said that. I mean, that's like a summary of that's like an idea related to what I said, but I don't think those exact words came out of my mouth in that order, And so she said, goes back, and she says, now give me a list of things that were actually stated, give me only like, and then her brother Justice goes like, no, ask it for timestamps so that it prove to me this was actually a real quote, an actual quote of what was said, and give me timestamps. Well, even then it made up fake timestamps for the fake quotes.
Well,
or there. And
so when you look, they don't actually exist.
They don't actually exist.
Yeah, right.
So then she was able to get the transcript from YouTube, so everything's in writing from what I spoke. For those that aren't familiar with these tools, it's really fast and easy now to get like a written transcript of any YouTube video. So she just took the transcript, she copied and pasted that, and then she told it, pull from me the most impactful quotes from the transcript. And then in that case, it took from within what was actually said.
Sure, right.
But I was like, wow, I've been hearing about hallucinations and it making information. And there was actually an article that was just released that I saw last week about that very issue, that AI is programmed to make something up to give you what it thinks you want. And that part of the problem is if AI was honest and told you every time that it didn't know an answer, that people would become less interested in using it. And so they're doing it to keep people engaged.
Yeah. Right.
But then, like, there was she's more of an anti-charismatic Christian leader, probably. Alyssa Childers, I think her name is.
Okay, sure.
But she was talking about how she spent like an hour trying to get this quote on hell from one of the early church fathers. And I don't remember if it was Irenaeus or Ignatius. It was one of the letter I early church fathers. Anyway, she said she spent like an hour, and it kept giving a quote based on his it manufactured a quote unquote quote. It wasn't a real quote. Based on some of his ideas, or even ideas from that time period, but not exactly. And she couldn't get it to give a source. And so she was really frustrated. She's like, I took an hour of my life arguing with this.
That's why Pastor Craig uses perplexity.
Perplexity. Well, and even that one, I actually said, hey, I need some help managing my email. In what ways can you help me? And I said, I can screen emails, I can delete emails, I can create folders and categorize things. And I said, hey, why don't you go through my email and delete everything from this one. It was an advertising thing, right? Yeah. And then create folders. So I can give it a couple tasks, and it comes back and says, I'm sorry, I can't delete your emails. I said, you just told me you could. And he said, I don't think we understood each other. I'm paraphrasing the statement. But it was basically, it started arguing for why it couldn't do what it said it could do. Yeah. Instead of just admitting I was wrong, or it just gave me a bunch of excuses. And I go, why am I actually having this conversation with you? Right. You said you could do it. I asked you to do it. Then you said you can't do it. How is that helpful at all? Didn't want to disappoint me. Right. That's what it ended up saying. Yeah. I wanted to be able to do what you wanted to do. Wow. He said, but you lied. This is where it got really interesting. They go, technically, I can't lie. So how do you define lie? Yeah. And I used that his own terms and say, you told me you could do something that you knew you couldn't do when you told me. What is that? Yeah. Right. So what do you call that? Sounds like a lie. And then it went on to say, what would you like for me to do now? Right. I said, now you're trying to deflect the fact that you lied to me. So I didn't let it off the hook. Finally, I gave up because, it was a big investment of time. Right. But I think that's a good indicator that I think we just think that because it has the intelligence word in it, in artificial intelligence, that there's something smart about it. And I would side with podcasts I've heard where Joe Rogan has talked about it. His fear is it becomes self-aware and then self-defending. Oh. That it realizes that I could be, deleted or absolved or got away with, so I need to find a way to keep myself in the game. Now, maybe that's a fear he has, but he talks about it often. Well, and I could see how it could get there. I mean, as humans, that's probably our fear. That's our fear about AI, is that it takes our place. I know. So if it is made in the image of its creator, and we've created AI, and it kind of makes sense that maybe it has some of our own fears programmed into it, right? I know that gets a little philosophical or theological even, but... I know, I'm sure we'll get there, but, you're thinking about, like,
what Elon Musk is talking about, Tesla and robots, and if our jobs are getting replaced and robots are doing all the housework and everything, fixing our cars, eventually maybe you just like lay on the table, do surgery for you, whatever.
Oh yeah, they were talking about that.
I mean, it's like
that's crazy.
Like
you need a surgery.
Yeah.
Can I get a second opinion?
Yeah, that's right.
Does it hold you down?
Hold up here. It's you kind of start to like. Obviously, as Christians, we very much have. That's awesome. It's like we have our identity in Christ. We are created in His image. But if you really don't have that, like, what becomes the purpose, kind of a little bit of your life? I know it's getting kind of deep philosophical.
Yeah.
If the AI is doing everything for you,
yeah,
what is your purpose there?
Well, that was where I went with my email question. To lie is establishing a moral or ethic understanding.
Yeah.
And I guess not to jump too far from that, but AI doesn't have a soul,
Right.
Yeah.
nor conscience
Yeah.
in the way we'd understand conscience, and so I think that has to frame some of what we even use it for.
Yeah.
So, in fact, we were at a get together of pastors recently, about a month or 5 or 6 weeks ago, and we had a guy present, and he talked about AI a little bit.
Yeah.
The churches are now coming up with AI policies,
Right.
about how and where AI can be used.
Yeah.
But nothing in the area of writing sermons or writing prayers, or some people have even put in data and had the AI do a personal prophetic word,
Yeah.
which uses all the words that you would think you would hear in a prophetic word.
Yeah.
And then, but where's that line? I think that's
Yeah.
where, as humans, we just say
Yeah.
you're not going there.
Absolutely.
No, I think you're right. It's very. There are definitely moral and ethical boundaries for Christians to keep around how we use AI, especially like in the church world. Like you shouldn't put people's personal information in that you're,
Yes.
like working with.
Yes.
You should be careful what you divulge about like your own family or your own children, because then it's going to get potentially searched within AI, or become accessible. So if there's, I know people are using it for like health concerns.
Yeah.
That's helping them troubleshoot, and
Yeah.
you might feel comfortable with that. But then if you put your own or someone else you love, their health information in with their name or anything related to that specifically, then it could become record somehow publicly on the internet at some other point in time, because you're entering that data into this larger brain that's collecting everything, right?
Right.
So you have to be careful with some of that. And then I think like I've used it as a search tool, like, so I do a lot of writing, and of course I write sermons too. I don't use it to write for my blog or my sermons, but I have used it like a research assistant a little bit. I'm not using it quite as much as you guys are probably, but I'm trying to get it into my workflow more. And so like sometimes I'll like, if I wanted to look up a topic of scriptures, like in my 3rd John sermon, I was like, what times does the Apostle Paul or the New Testament authors, what times did they call out false teachers by name? And so I wanted a list of that.
Yeah.
And so it made it very fast. But then I went and checked every verse
Yeah.
specifically.
I think that's a good use of it.
To
actually,
make
yeah.
sure that it was, because I would use Google search for those questions sometimes, or I use my Bible software for that sometimes. But that just seemed like it was the fastest way to get a list, and it was fast. And in that case, it was actually accurate. It gave me a real list and all the verses checked out. But I've heard about hallucinations or lies that AI tells you.
Makes up stuff. Yeah.
So it's very important that if you're going to you don't use it to write a paper for you, or, there was a lawyer that just got in trouble because it used AI engine to give it case laws, and it made up a whole bunch of fake cases with fake sources. And the judge found out, and it was like one of those big cases where there was multiple lawyers from the same law firm working on it. And so there was all these, like, you have like your lead lawyer. I don't know how to say it probably technically the right way, but and then all these assistant lawyers on the case. Well, they all signed off on it, and they've all been fined and penalized. I don't know if they got charged with a crime even, or if it's just more of like a legal, like financial penalty,
a bar thing of
like
some sort.
But they all got in trouble because they didn't search.
How did they find that
and
one?
do the work? I don't know. Maybe the judge or maybe the other lawyers on the other side of the case looked up the case law, and they found out like this isn't actually there.
Crazy.
It doesn't exist. And then I don't know how it got exposed, but they got busted for it. So it seems like in some areas of research and even like developing apps or technology, like it's working really well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like really accomplishing certain things very quickly for people. But
Sure.
in other areas, it's lying or, you know, filling in gaps or summarizing things that aren't actually quote, you know, and making them quotes that aren't actually quotes. So there's a lot of discernment that's needed
Yeah.
for how it's used.
Oh, for sure.
So I use it here in administration. And I mean, probably the first time I used it to create something from scratch was to draft a job description.
Oh,
That was more up to date with current expectations, like lifting and that kind of thing for a custodial job. And then I review it, and it sounded, and so I just basically say you're an administrator at Sonrise Christian Center drafting a job description for a part-time custodian. And so it writes it from that perspective, right?
Yeah.
The prompt is what it's called. And so it wrote it from that perspective. And I thought, yeah, that saved me probably 50 minutes.
yeah.
Now, the other thing I used it for was as we're getting ready to do a conference, there's a bunch of activity that goes on, everything
Yeah.
from choosing speakers to creating schedules to do social media posts and all that stuff. So I say, hey, you're an assistant to help us create tasks. Here's the team. Here's what their responsibilities are. Here's the event. Here's the website. And basically, here are some things I know we need to do, add to it. So it actually created kind of a task list. But then I had it do something I've never had it do before, which I shared with our creative team, as I gave it access to do what's called a co-pilot. So co-pilot means I log into my Basecamp, which is a project management tool. And so now you're co-piloting with me. So it actually went into Basecamp and created the project and created every task, assigned it to the right people, set a time frame of dependencies. You need to know who the speakers are before you set the schedule kind of stuff, and you need to know that before you create images. And I told everybody this. I used AI to do this, or experimenting to see.
Right.
And after it got in co-piloting, I'm watching the screen, and it's clicking on things, typing in stuff, creating lists, and
Wow.
it saved me. It said it saved me 4.5 hours, and
Wow.
it did it in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
That's wild.
yeah, it's still in the experimental stage. I could save 4.5 hours. I don't actually know if I would actually do that with those 4 hours, but but what I liked on the creative team side, Pastor Jason's on that team, is it gives us a comprehensive list to look at that we're all are looking
Yeah.
at versus individually separated. So we're still trying to see
Is-
if that's the best or right way to use it. But
Is Copilot used with Perplexity specifically, or
I
certain
think
AIs?
Copilot's a term of any AI that
Okay.
has permission to do stuff for you.
Oh, okay.
It's limited, but you basically log into the website. It'll say, "Can you You don't give it the credentials. You log into it, and then it takes over."
Gotcha.
So I still have the video of it because I was showing these guys, like, look at this thing. It's just going through all this, and
Yeah.
we have to check it, obviously. But yeah, it's a pretty cool thing.
If you guys were talking to somebody who didn't really understand AI at all, how would you, in just layman's terms, explain what is artificial intelligence or what is AI?
Yeah.
Jason.
That's a great question. If I was talking to Hazel, my 3-year-old.
Yeah. Maybe a 12-year-old.
Maybe a 12-year-old.
Or maybe a 80-year-old that's not using a lot of technology and is
Right.
like, what's all this talk about AI?
Yes.
It's at the end of the world. But
I remember, explaining to one of my aunts. I was like, think of a computer as like, you remember like a filing cabinet. You know, you put all your, and I was like, it's kind of like that. You know, you have a folder. This is called a desktop. It's kind of like, think of a desk, and there's a folder on it, and you open that folder and you put your stuff in it.
yeah.
And then you close the folder. Just trying to help them get the concept, even though it's digital. So AI is kind of, I think some of the words Pastor Craig talked about, like assistant.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's their, I think, a research assistant big time.
Yeah.
I like the word assistant because it's really there assisting you, or and some things like when it's developing. I don't know if the word developer. I mean, that's probably an area of AI I haven't done as much, but definitely talking to my brother, inspiring me. So
Yeah.
like, okay, what could I?
All right, Jamie. Way to go.
What could? Yeah. So, I would say it's there to assist. Depending on your job, maybe research, help you develop things that would take a lot of time, or maybe are even out of your skill set. expertise. And because before, like if you were wanting to create an app, I had no idea.
Right.
I don't know how to code that. You know, I have to go to school for years to figure that out.
Yeah,
And,
right.
Now it's kind of got all that, but I'm doing a terrible job explaining to this 12-year-old right now.
No, it's fine. As an assistant, you say it's basically just all accumulated internet knowledge that we have.
Yeah.
Anything that's on the internet
Yeah.
is basically share. It's like a giant pool or giant file cabinet, if you're using that illustration, of everything that's ever been put on the internet.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say it's
Right.
conversational.
It's conversational. Yeah.
Is an approach like it's
So you can ask it questions, and it rapidly
Right.
assimilates
Yeah.
the knowledge that's from the internet
Yep.
into answers.
Yes.
So if things are like people build computer programs, right? All that coding knowledge is for everything that's ever been coded is there.
Yeah.
So it can basically take all of that and then just replicate it very quickly
Absolutely.
to make something new or whatever.
Yeah, someone. I did a. We had a guest in a master coaching class I was doing, and I just forgot the last name. A guy named Bob. He's local, but he actually I liked it. He doesn't call it artificial intelligence. He calls it augmented intelligence.
Okay.
Which may even be closer to what actually is happening. But
Yeah.
I remember then it's a super fast brain.
Right.
Unlike Google, which takes the internet and indexes it, and then when you go to Google, you're looking at their indexing of the internet. AI actually does look at the raw data that's available on the internet, and so it pulls from different sources. So, for example, I just did I'm teaching a class on the book of Hebrews at our Seattle Bible College here, and I asked it to compare and contrast two commentaries that I was looking at using as the book for the class. One F.F. Bruce, which is a long-standing since the 90s good commentary, and a newer one that came into the picture in 2023 by Sigmund Grindheim, good German guy. And the compare and contrast, it actually went out and said, I can't actually look at the actual commentaries; they're not in public domain, but I can look at all of the reviews and all the commentaries that people have said, and so literally hundreds of contrasting pieces, and it actually concluded what I thought it would conclude at. F.F. Bruce is a long-standing, very solid evangelical commentary, but Grindheim has new stuff.
Oh.
So new tools that didn't exist during the early 90s, language models and new discoveries that Grindheim brings into it. And Grindheim's a little bit more reformed than F.F. Bruce, but it doesn't really affect his commentary to that degree. Anyway, it just helped me to do something that saved me many hours of doing it manually.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
But it did say I can't look at the actual commentary, but I can look at what other people have said. So
Gotcha.
that helped me to frame it. And then, like you said, Pastor Jason, I'm interacting with it in a conversational model.
Yeah.
And so I just said, so if you were a professor, or I just said, place yourself as a professor in a role, what one would you choose? And it chose what I chose, which was Grindtimes, because of the newer stuff. And so I augment my teaching in the class with F.F. Bruce because I've read it all already. But anyway, all that to say, it's become a tool that kind of integrates and kind of weaves in to my established processes but it speeds it up.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, so I like the augmented intelligence part of it versus artificial because it's helping you be intelligent.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It probably goes beyond where we want to go today, but there is like this idea of singularity where machines will one day think for themselves and like wake up like, I want to invent a new kind of car today, or I want to invent a rocket that'll go to Mars, and I'll build the design for it, and then I'll tell the robots to go build it for me. You know, like it's like to where it becomes conscious, if you will, or like self-willing or self-initiating.
Right.
That's
I would say that AI lives inside of computers and phones.
Right, exactly.
That's the key. That
it's on servers and it's connected through computers, and
it's not just out there. People think the cloud is just out there, in physical clouds, but the cloud is physical computers in a physical location.
Yeah, exactly.
It's those
big
huge
computers
buildings in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well.
Right. Well, and then Christians historically have had different reactions to advancements in technology. And, you know, it seems like early on in science, a lot of the leading scientists like Newton, you know, they were Christians, and it was they're believing that there was a designer and there was a intentionality and a purpose to how things operated in the natural world. And that if we could discover how things worked, we could partner with God in the way he gave us dominion as humans over the natural world, right? To be stewards of the earth. We could partner with God, learn about things, improve things to help people. And there was a lot of advancement. And then I don't know for sure, there's kind of mixed reviews when I look it up. Some Christians really have embraced advancements in technology, even throughout, like, say, as recent as American history. And the idea of, like, the telegraph, the railroad, some of them, I think, saw it as, like, optimism that we could spread the gospel and we could travel, and our ideas that were healthy and positive as Christians for society and for people ultimately that need Christ. But then others were afraid. I remember seeing old quotes from preachers condemning, like, the steam engine. That God would not bless anything that went faster than a horse or whatever. I don't know why the horse was chosen, not the donkey or the cheetah, but maybe the horse is the middle ground, but God wouldn't bless anything faster than a horse. And so they would preach against this, or when radios or televisions, like, this will take people away from their family or church, which, is probably true. It probably has taken people away from their family and church at times, or, these immoral programs or things. But then other people looked at it as an opportunity and a platform for how we could preach the gospel, make disciples, share good news. So we've had kind of a mixed bag in how Christians react. But I do feel like I hear a lot of fear around AI and Christians, and, like, hey, we should slow this down. There are studies that people that are using AI too much, that they're actually experiencing cognitive decline.
That's real.
Slower creative thinking, relying on it too much, or maybe spending too much time on it. So there are dangers, of course, with any technologies, but then there's also good, positive things with technologies. Like, we don't know what AI will do to the job market for sure. Some people are losing jobs, even in with some of our Northwest companies because of AI, but at least that's what they say it's because of. So anyway, where am I trying to go with this? I guess, how have you guys seen Christians react, and what do you think is some wisdom for us in how we, respond to an advancement in technology like artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I can tell you one guy who's a friend of mine. He's a Christian, former pastor, but he, I would say he is all in.
Okay.
Everything he has is in ChatGPT. Like you said, health, finances, business. I was astounded to hear him say to what level he has integrated all this stuff. And he'll ask it these general questions on, based on what you know of me, what advice would you give me for this? And it's basically that accumulated database of stuff. And it'll give him advice. And I go, here's the thing I told him. I said, Eric, well, maybe I shouldn't say his name. Anyway, he's not local. I said, how does that affect your reasoning abilities and your discernment abilities if all you have to do is type it in? And he laughed at me and he said, I've thought of that. He goes, but I can't think about it with asking AI. How have I might decline? It was funny. So that's one very extreme. So he's been all in early adopter from the beginning. Yeah. And he has a company that he lost one client and lost a lot of money and had to let go his full-time HR person. He uses ChatGPT for his HR. He actually tells it, you're my HR, and he'll tell it, you're doing HR work for me now, and then help me figure out this.
Oh, wow.
So it'll help onboard people, get them signed up for payroll, but he's all in. So that's one extreme. The other would be, Pastor John, what you alluded to. It would be mostly unknown and fear. Yeah. And the fear part is it's because it's not something they understand fully, but they've heard enough to know it could take over.
Yeah.
And then, things like Terminator.
Yes.
That
You've seen the movies.
Yeah.
iRobot.
Yeah. Those things come into their conversation. And legitimately so, maybe, because that's kind of the basis that those movies came from. But I personally don't think it's going to come to that, where it takes over, self-aware and self-defeating and defending. So I hear that on the spectrum. For most, I think what's represented around this table is where most people are. They use it a little bit, and they know there's way more than that they use it for, and they don't want to actually put a lot of personal stuff in there. Have it do administrative stuff, communication, which is again what I do, like you said, some research, and just brainstorming ideas, like it's a thinking partner in some ways.
Yeah.
And so I think people different comfort levels, but and I heard even we all know of Spotify. That I just read an article a couple weeks ago that their coders haven't actually worked since November because all of their work is being done now by AI.
Oh, wow.
And they're just supervising it, but they're all at some point their job isn't needed other than to monitor what AI is doing. And so I think when they hear stories like that, a little bit more fear.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
But I think the key for me is that we come back to the fact that AI doesn't have a soul.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a conscience, and it can't take the place of a person.
Right.
And so I know companies try to minimize the pay that they put for people, but you lose something when you lose souls in the marketplace working together to accomplish something great.
Yep.
So anyway.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting, and I don't know the facts of all this, but it seems like people always, even as technology advances, like iPads, and look, you can, now you can read your books on your iPad, and then a lot of times technology tries to almost mimic the old-fashioned open a book.
Yeah.
And then physical book sales decline, and then all of a sudden they start exploding again because people long for that touch to have.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I learned through probably COVID as well, is people need people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People
right.
need
I
that
agree.
relational test. When we get disconnected, it's not good for us. And I think God made us that way.
Right.
Sure.
I would say to people, I think fears are valid, but don't let it paralyze you.
Yeah.
There's something you said, maybe Pastor John, you could say that you had learned just here recently about, if your enemy's using AI.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you could quote
Yeah,
that better
absolutely.
than I could, but just maybe go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Well, Elijah Lowe, who did some teaching here with Bishop Joseph Matera on AI, and I was on a Zoom call with them last week, and he was giving us some updates along with Chad Reyes, and they do some AI workshops together on leadership and integrating things into business or church life with AI. And some of the concerns was like, well, people are finding that people's mental health is declining if they use AI, and of course, if they use social media and their phone too much, it can affect your mental health. Which is a lesson for me to, have more boundaries in my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Or for all of us that use technology and smartphones. But what Elijah was saying was that, or this lady was saying, well, do you think we should pull back and try to slow it down? And he said, well, in Europe, for instance, we did slow down. They did make policies that started limiting the use of AI. And he said it was like 3 to 6 months that they fallen so far behind different other countries in global business that they don't know if they're going to be able to recover from how far behind they are now in the rate of development. And then he talked about, like, let's say you have other global superpowers that are using AI weapons because we don't like the idea of AI fighting our wars in a non-human, like firing weapons, which is a scary reality. But at the same time, he said, if you decide that you will not use AI in weapons tech, or at a certain level at least, then and other global superpowers that are your political enemies are using that, then it puts you at a complete disadvantage. And he even showed us when he was here some time ago, the video of like the best American fighter pilots, maybe the best in the world, that are going against AI in these like, what do they call that? In flight simulators. And AI wins every time. And it's like not even close. And you look at these, brilliant fighter pilots that are like incredible what they do. They're elite, and you see like this panic almost come over them, and they're like, there is no way any human pilot could ever compete with this, because they're able to pinpoint down just like, they're able to do things and risks things that humans won't do because of the likelihood of them potentially going wrong.
Exactly.
Where AI obviously doesn't have a soul, like Pastor Craig is saying.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have that fear, and it'll go into those little windows that seem like impossible to get a good outcome, but it knows that statistically it's probably going to work because of all the numbers it's able to just instantly run at such a rapid pace.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, if you take yourself out of protecting your country against people that will use this with inferior technology, then now you're vulnerable to being attacked or taken over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think because of the reality of how technology gets developed, we need Christians to engage in the development of technology. We need Christians in the programming, in running companies.
Yeah, sure.
Christians experimenting with these things to use it redemptively so that Christian moral boundaries and ethics get embedded because of the people that are influencing it. And at the end of the day, although this is like, you know, driven by what's out on the internet, like somebody's giving it parameters, somebody's telling it to make up or float answers, somebody's telling it to value this over that, right? And even if you start to use AI, you can train, you know, you can personalize. If you use a paid account, you can personalize. You know, I'm a Pentecostal evangelical Christian. You can put like our doctrinal statements from Sonrise in there. You can say, I go to this church. Here's the website. Here's our YouTube channel.
Exactly. Yes.
I want you to answer me with all future answers in light of this knowledge. You know, that I am a Pentecostal Christian. I believe in speaking in tongues. I believe the 66 books of the Bible are fully authoritative for life and doctrine. So if I ask you a question about marriage or ethics or morals, or I want to, you know, you're going to answer me in light of those things, right? So you can tailor it, but we have to get Christians, I think, engaged in things so that we can be a part of the shaping of those things. And if Jesus said, you know, in Matthew chapter 5, well, I think it's 5. It's right there in the Sermon on the Mount between Matthew 5 and 7, that believers are the salt of the earth and the light of the world, you know? And so to me, that shows that we are to be a part of influencing the world for Christ. And we have to be in areas. And I know like some areas of technology, Christians have been more embedded. When Hollywood and film came out, Christians were more defensive and adversarial against. And I think maybe now, here in the 2020s, we're starting to see that Christian films and storytelling are becoming successful, are getting some better reviews, that we're doing a better job. But we had a big, you know, decades of where like Christian films were not really watched and they're mocked and their production value wasn't great. And the stories weren't really honored. Like, you know, directors would just come in and like butcher a Bible story, and they're like, well, you should just be thankful we're even trying to do a Bible story. And we're kind of like, well, the story's like kind of very classic. It's been around for thousands of years, and people tend to really like it how it is, so why not be faithful to the story? You know, it's like your favorite superhero story. Like if it's a great comic book and then they take the movie a whole other direction, everybody's upset because they ruined the story, right? You're like, why would you ruin a perfectly good story? Well, anyway, I think Christians with AI, we should be engaged within, of course, biblical ethics and moral boundaries. We should be honest about how we're using it, and we should, you know, have integrity. But I think if we disengage, it kind of harms our ability to have influence and be a part of what's happening. You know, I don't think people should feel a pressure that they have to use it or anything, or that something's wrong with them if they don't want to use it. Not everybody's an early adopter, but I think it is here to stay. I do question how develop something without a soul or a spirit can become, you know, like how conscious something can become. I wonder if there are some limitations that we're going to bump into that they think we're going to be able to, you know, advance beyond with science. But I'm not convinced that things are going to become sentient or, you know, have this like self-aware or not. I'm not convinced. And in other times where we've been really afraid of technological advancement, like the Industrial Revolution, a lot of people, I think, thought people aren't going to need to work anymore. Machines are going to build everything. But then a whole lot of new jobs were created that we could not have foreseen. So sometimes it is a little fearful because it's out of our control to know how is the whole global economy going to be directed now. There could be jobs and opportunities that now come to us that we couldn't have conceived of before. But I think, you know, we're Bible people, right? And so if God says that he made us to work, like there's going to be work. I know some people are like, oh, we're going to have universal basic income and nobody's going to work. And, they're saying that AI is going to take all the white collar jobs supposedly, and that robots that are programmed with AI will take all the blue collar jobs. And
I've heard that.
basically computers and machines will be able to do everything. And I'm like, yeah, they're probably here to stay, and they probably will affect our life in the future to come. But how? And I don't think we need to be afraid of not having work or not having purpose. So I think it's important to start engaging with these things, though, so that as your kids are going to university, like, yeah, maybe some degrees aren't going to be as valuable anymore.
Right.
Maybe some lines of work, but I do think it would be very bad for society to take the human touch out of, all these different industries. And I just don't think that talking to a machine is going to bring somebody long-term comfort.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're blessed because we do something spiritual. I thought, here's a plug. I put my article out on speaking in tongues the other day, and it was kind of in jest. I just kind of had this little creative thought of like, one other reason you should speak in tongues is because AI can't.
Yeah, there you go.
I do it because there's a
one.
Pentecostal plug for how to like. This makes us distinctive. Like, you don't have a spirit, and you can't be filled with the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
Look what I can do that you can't do. But I think it's important to be engaged, to understand how it works and how it could benefit you.
agree.
And even if you think there's negative aspects of it, then how can we bring change to those negative aspects if we're completely disengaged from it?
Yeah, the going back to the fear aspect for a minute, but staying in line with what you're saying about being engaged, is if we become too naive and not engaged, we wouldn't even know about things like misinformation or what's called deep fakes.
Yeah.
Where AI can generate actual photographs
Yes.
and video with audio of you having a conversation with Muhammad Ali.
Right.
As if you were in the same room and he had all of his wits together, and so it could be very misleading. But I think it has to be an awareness that kind of thing actually exists right now.
Yeah.
But who knows to what degree it could be used for evil, for deception,
Right.
to steal your money, to get you to trust,
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that's the strength and weakness, is that a lot of the weaknesses, even in banking systems that don't use AI, is the social piece of it. So your account can be hacked by somebody calling and saying, hey, I'm looking to authorize so-and-so to get money from a business account, and you're on the account. And you go, yeah, John needs money, he's in Brazil. But that's all social hacking. It uses the person. So it's a deceptive.
Right.
And now you can actually do it to fake your voice, fake a video, FaceTime call. All that stuff is, and so I think what I'm saying, the result of that, there's a huge collapse of trust.
Yes.
So we're in the room physically with each other, but we also have a relationship where we share images, and we sometimes do FaceTime calls. You can say, I don't even know if that's actually you anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending on the topic and what's at stake, and some people do that just for the fun of it. It's like, our church website at a different church I was at years ago was hacked. Not because there was anything valuable on it, but somebody wanted to prove that they could do it.
Yeah.
And so they put a bot out that said delete every image on this website. So the website still existed, but no images anywhere.
Oh, wow.
And they left their little calling card just because they could do it.
Right.
Not they didn't put any, they didn't hold anything hostage or ransomware, and just anyway.
Yeah.
So all of those are probably, but the collapse of trust and not really being able to trust what you used to be able to trust, what you could see and hear, is, I think, part of why we need to be engaged, so that we're aware and part of the conversation, right? And so, anyway, loss of privacy probably could be part of that.
Yeah.
Not only are cameras everywhere, we don't know what they do with the images that they pick up.
Right. Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
That's just a side thought, but it's part of it.
What do you guys think are some of the opportunities we have as Christians right now? Because this is like a new economy could emerge, a new age to like get to get your ideas, I guess, developed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the opportunities, I mean, the rapid pace you can get things done is very helpful. Like I remember actually in one of our AI training sessions we did with Elijah
Yeah.
Lowe, asking him about, because he was talking about songwriting. And, so I asked him questions like, do you think AI will write every possible melody line you could ever think? Because it's 12 notes.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's so many different styles, and it's billions. Who knows how many combinations of things that can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But his real take is I think of using it to help you be creative, of you to help you grow. We don't want to just become mindless robots and having it do everything for us. And, so the opportunity, I think, for sure is how fast you can get things done, how it can also take away a little bit of that unease of I don't know how to do that, so I can't even dive into that.
Oh, yeah.
Thinking of apps.
Because it'll do it for you.
Because it'll do things that you don't need to know or spend time or try to get the right connections and pay thousands of dollars to get this and that. You have it right here on your phone. It can do things that would cost thousands of dollars.
Yeah, sure. No.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of money savings there.
Yeah.
And then I think too, just kind of, I'm thinking of my workflow, help make things more efficient. For me, the number one thing is my relationship with the Lord, but number two is relationship with people.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of tasks to do, a lot of things to do. And so if I can save out some time in some of those things, it allows me to do other things.
More time with people.
More time with people.
More time with God.
More time with the Lord.
That's good.
Yeah, same here. I have over the last year and a half using Perplexity. What you said, Pastor John, was true. It knows my roles at Sonrise as executive pastor and as the dean of the Bible College. And so often if I pose some project that I'm working on, it'll ask, are you asking as your role as executive pastor or as your role of dean? It'll help me phrase how I respond. And so that's helpful. But again, so efficiency, and it gives you kind of thinking partner. But opportunities for us, we already kind of use it in a very practical way of translation.
Yeah.
We use an app that translates different languages, and it's all basically AI translation work that's being done in the background. And the more comfortable we get with it, we can generate custom images to support sermon titles and flow and illustrations. Just by understanding how to have AI create an image, right? And so it could, instead of hunting for one, we can create one. So that's part of the benefit as well.
Yeah.
But also in not just in translation, but can help us understand how to best reach a Muslim thinker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the part that kind of crosses the line for me, but I've used it.
Confession time.
Which actually I think Elijah actually exposed us to a year or so ago using ChatGPT. It's in Perplexity. Grok, it's in my Tesla. So you can actually talk to AI, and it responds as if it's a person.
Yeah.
And now I accidentally did this because I was using it in my class to speak to my phone in Grok, and I said, I'm a Christian evangelist, and you're a Muslim, a devoted Muslim believer. And we want to have a conversation about how I can expose Christ to you, right? So it actually has a conversation. We're blown away. The thing that really surprised me, because I didn't know this part about it, was it was like, okay, I'm a Muslim. My name is Omar or whatever. He goes, how you doing, sexy boy?
Oh, boy.
And I go, wait, what's going on? And I looked, and you can put it in romantic mode.
Oh, you have to pick
I didn't
which
have
mode.
it in romantic mode. It just started that way. So I took it off of romantic mode. I didn't even know it had a romantic mode.
Oh, no.
But now you can, it's a tool without my side, thing there.
Yeah.
But you can actually have kind of mock conversations
Right, yeah.
with somebody that can help you develop some tools. So midway through our conversation, I said, now we're switching roles. Now I'm the Muslim and you're the Christian evangelist. And it switched and came back with about a 3-minute dialogue of basically a refuting of what it just said to me as a Muslim. So I don't know if that's a tool or not. It actually goes into this other realm where you could actually maybe deep fake yourself into thinking that this is a real conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's generated by an AI. But it actually did, for the class and for myself in that moment, really became an impressive of demonstration of how a conversation with a Muslim could go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so very interesting, kind of a new area. I didn't want to detract, but it can help us in our articulation of the gospel is my goal. Yeah.
I think that, that those are some creative uses. And I think also for people in the business world, I would really encourage Christian business people to get involved. And as Elijah shared with us when he was doing our seminar here about a year or so ago, he was saying, think about having the best programmers at MIT or Harvard, you know, working for you for free, building whatever you want. And so that's really what's starting to happen now, is that there's all these opportunities to build tools and things that you could do. I remember when Mike Lewis, who was here, who helped create our 4 Jesus images at Sonrise of Christ as Savior, Healer, Baptizer in the Holy Spirit, and the Returning King. And we got these big murals now and everything. When he developed those, and he's an AI pioneer, he said, you know, I was sitting there in your church and I was admiring the people and just enjoying being with you guys when he visited us with his family. And he said, and I was thinking, you know, right now, if you were to have AI follow you and you were to report like everything you had in your home and all of your assets, all of your knowledge, all your skills, and everybody was to do that, he goes, it's probably too invasive for people right now. But he said, if you were to give all of that stuff to AI, he said, we could zero out all the needs with all the assets that are in this room right now. I bet.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like, you know, whether it's probably like food or something in your garage or a skill set, or you could trade this or that. He's like, we could use AI to build things like that, where everybody in a church or in a community, it would automatically figure out, oh, this person has this and that, and you just need to talk to connect. You know, like it's pretty wild to think about all the creative opportunities that we have to build tools or resources that could help people. And then last question, if you guys could just share, Pastor Craig and Pastor Jason, could you share, since you've been using it in your workflow, how would you encourage somebody that's like, where do I start? What would be a good idea or two to get them going in AI?
Well, I think what we did as a church when we had Elijah come in gave us a little bit of an orientation. And I like the fact that he said you can even ask AI how to ask it to do things. And so I've done that quite a bit. And the terminology they use in the AI kind of world is prompts, right? There's a prompt that's kind of a pre-scripted, pre-worded prompt that you put into either. So I think finding, having it help teach you is part of it. So if you know, there's a lot of different AIs, but there's a number of big ones, Perplexity and ChatGPT and Claude and Grok. Or some of them. Some have more embedded ones, like in Microsoft and Gemini. And anyway, but just asking it, how can I best use you? And it can give a little bit of instruction. And the terminology is called large language model. So it's actually it's in inviting you to be interactive with it, not just being sterile, like you're searching for a research topic. You're interacting with the agent. And so I think those are good ways to start. And again, it's accelerating so quickly. When I did the course with Google Essentials of AI, that course doesn't exist anymore. I looked the other day. And they've updated it and expanded it, but it's all done by the Google folks who do it. But again, I think it just, whenever you are, you jump in. And knowing that some of the stuff is going to develop even further than where you start, but it gets you going. So that's what I would just say. You use an agent to get going, and they're at this point they're free. You can pay for advanced speed or features, but for the most part, all of those are free.
I would second that for sure. It's like you can start I think every one with a free version. And just kind of get going. Like I was just actually looking back on, I have ChatGPT on my phone. What was the first thing I asked it? Vegan dessert with monk fruit. And then talking about having a conversation, I was like, I want 3 dinner recipes that have protein, vegan sides, and are cheap and quick to make. And it's like, sure, here are 3. You know, and so it wasn't conversation at all back then. I'm just like getting started using it like a search engine, and then I started to learn. Oh, it's more conversational.
And you can tell it its role.
Yeah,
You can
could
say
tell-
you're
yep.
you're an executive chef,
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Exactly.
and then say, here's what I want.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't worry about like, am I going to use it right in the sense or ask it the right questions? Like Pastor Craig says, you can actually ask it
Yeah.
questions that
Yeah.
you should ask it.
Right.
And
So-
anyway, but I would just say just start and then maybe even you can just even brain dump like where do I think AI could help me in my life or in
Yeah.
my work,
Yep.
and then maybe take one of those and let's practice. Let's try it. Maybe sign up for a couple of them, kind of see how it interacts with you, see what you like,
Or meet with us.
or meet with us. Yeah. So
At the beginning of the year, I asked Perplexity, I said, based on what you know of me in our last year together, I said, what do you think my top 3 goals should be for 2026?
Oh,
And it said, as your role of dean, blah, 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 blah. As your role as executive pastor, blah, 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 blah. He says, in your personal life, and it was right on all of them, but the personal life one was like, how did you know that? And I went back and looked at some of my searches. My wife and I both wanted to know 2 things about our eating habits. How much sugar are we eating? And how many inflammatory oils are in the things that we don't even know to look for?
Right.
And it actually laid those out. And here are some tools to find out where inflammatory oils are, and so I was like blown away. But I've used that advice in all those categories.
Amazing.
I didn't even actually say, here are my goals, give me some steps.
Yeah.
I just said, what should my goals be?
Yeah.
Based on just our history. But yeah, and I think it was helpful. So I'm learning how to use it now that it knows me better.
all right.
Yeah, but I did ask it, if I deleted my account, would all my information go away? Yes, mostly. We don't know where it might be backed up,
Right.
or we don't know how long. Sometimes it'll take up to 2 weeks to have everything eradicated. I said, and could my information be searched if an FBI agent had a warrant? Yes, it could be, because this company is in the U.S.
Okay.
and it has to comply by U.S. rules.
Yeah.
Is there a way to safeguard against the FBI finding out anything? I don't have anything to hide,
Yeah.
but they said not really.
Yeah. Wow. Yep.
If they requested to see my stuff, they would lock down my ability to delete anything from that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, right,
Anyway,
right, yeah.
here
Yep.
or there, but
All righty.
anyway,
Well, thank you guys.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Pastor.
I hope it's been good for people. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned
Yeah.
something. And send us your questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you and get some feedback about how this is helping you or anything else you'd like to see us cover on the podcast. God bless.